Hello students, welcome back to online classes. This is Swati Madam, your biology teacher from Silver Oak School. In the previous session, we have discussed about the structure of chloroplast, mechanism of photosynthesis, autotrophs and heterotrophs, and parasitic nutrition in cuscuta. We have covered the plant's photosynthetic mechanism and how the food is prepared in plants. In plants, autotrophic mode of nutrition will take place where plants can synthesize its own food material. But here in heterotrophic nutrition, the organisms cannot synthesize its own food material but depend on others for its food material. Today, we are going to discuss about nutrition in human beings. As you know clearly, human beings will take up the food material with the help of mouth. Later, it will enter into the digestive tract. The long extending tube from mouth to anus, we call it as alimentary canal. Based on the food material which we are taking in, it should be broken down into simpler substances. There is a mechanism which is taking place and there are different parts and functions involved in human digestive system. Today we are going to discuss about the process of digestion and the different parts involved in the mechanism of digestion.
Let us now learn about the passage of food through alimentary canal or gut. Alimentary canal is also known as gut. You can see here clearly. And this alimentary canal is nothing but it is the long tube extending from here buccal cavity. It is a long tube extending from here to the rectum and anus. The first part here involved in the digestion is buccal cavity. Buccal cavity is also known as oral cavity and it is the opening of the mouth. The anterior opening of the alimentary canal is the mouth. It leads to buccal cavity or oral cavity where it consists of teeth, tongue and salivary glands. Here ingestion, mastication and swallowing of food occur. Here ingestion is nothing but taking in of food. Mastication, it is a very important term. What is meant by mastication? The crushing or chewing of food and just it has been changed into a bolus, slimy substances. This is known as mastication. And later on swallowing will take place. In humans there are total 32 permanent teeth. As you know before, there are 4 different types of teeth, namely incisors, canines, premolars and molars. These help in chewing of food. The next part is about salivary glands. They are also known as exocrine glands that produce saliva in the oral cavity. They secrete an enzyme known as salivary amylase, very important salivary amylase, which helps in the breakdown of starch into maltose. Here we can say clearly that when food enters into the mouth, because of the salivary glands itself, most of the carbohydrates will start digesting, which helps the breakdown of starch into maltose. There are 3 types of salivary glands, namely parotid gland, submandibular gland, sublingual gland. Is it clear, students? Parotid gland, submandibular gland, sublingual gland. 2 glands are present just under the jaw and 1 on the palate. Parotid gland is present here around the palate and remaining 2 are present at the jaw. The next part in the digestion of human beings is stomach. Stomach plays an important role. Here you can see in the picture, alimentary canal picture, after the food enters into the mouth, it will be chewed and crushed by our teeth, tongue and saliva. Later here, carbohydrates will get digested and it will enter into a part known as esophagus. Esophagus is a long extending tube which is present from the buccal cavity to the stomach, and here in the esophagus peristaltic movements will take place. That means wave-like movements will take place which makes the food to enter into the stomach. The stomach, it's a muscular hollow organ having a capacity of 1 liter. It holds food and also a mixer and grinder. It secretes a strong acids like HCl. As you know clearly, HCl is secreted in stomach, which will be useful. And powerful enzymes are secreted, which we are going to study now. It will be helpful in the process of breaking down of food. Food is generally, in a liquid or paste consistency when it leaves the stomach. Here in the stomach, the food, the slimy substance is known as a chyme. As you learnt before, it is known as a chyme. Next, coming to the small intestine, it is a long tube which loosely coils in the abdomen area. Here enzymes from the pancreas, clearly note down students, enzymes from the pancreas and liver further break down the food. Three segments make up the small intestines. These are duodenum, jejunum and ileum. The contractions of the small intestine make the movement of the food along with its breakdown after mixing with digestive secretions. Here most of the food will be digested. The jejunum and ileum areas of the small intestine are responsible for absorption of food into the blood through villi. These are the intestinal areas where it increases the surface area of absorption. It is the longest part. Small intestine is the longest part in the alimentary canal. Coming to this pancreas, liver and gallbladder. These are the organs which plays a significant role in the human digestive system. Pancreas secretes enzymes which helps in the breakdown of proteins, fats and carbohydrates. Note down students, pancreas secretes enzymes which we are going to discuss now with the chart, which helps in breakdown of proteins, fats and carbohydrates. Liver secretes bile and cleanses, purifies the blood coming from the small intestine. The gallbladder stores the bile that liver produces. Here the gallbladder, what is the function of gallbladder? It stores the bile juice that the liver produces. It releases bile into the small intestine to aid in the digestion process. Coming to the last topic, large intestine. It is a long muscular tube that has different parts which are cecum, colon and rectum. The waste that is left over after digestion of food reaches the rectum through the peristaltic movement of the colon. So here, did you understood the alimentary canal, the process of food that enters from the mouth into the buccal cavity and then till anus. Here the process of digestion will takes place. So there are certain hormones and nerve controls the human digestive system. So the walls of the alimentary canal have many sensors which regulate the digestive functions. Even hormones are involved in the digestion process. The main digestive hormone, gastrin, is secreted in response to the presence of. Students, let us discuss about the chart showing different enzymes and digestive juices and their functions. The first one, thiolin, which is also known as salivary amylase. Thiolin, also known as salivary amylase, as we discussed before, carbohydrate starts digesting in the mouth itself because of the thiolin secreted by salivary glands into the buccal cavity. It acts on carbohydrates and converts it into dextrins and maltose. The second one, pepsin, it is secreted by stomach and the digestive juice here is gastric juice. It acts on proteins, converts it into peptones. The third one, bile. Bile, very important, it's an enzyme. It doesn't contain any enzyme. It is a digestive juice. Bile juice doesn't contain any enzyme. You'll get a question as which digestive juice doesn't contain any enzyme. It's bile juice. It acts on fats and it converts fats into small globules, which is very, very important. That process is known as emulsification. So what is meant by emulsification? Emulsification is the conversion of large fats into smaller globules. That is known as emulsification. Coming to the next one, amylase. This amylase, it is also known as pancreatic amylase, secreted by pancreas into the duodenum. It acts on the carbohydrates, converts it into maltose. The next, trypsin, which is secreted by pancreas into the duodenum, and the digestive juice here is pancreatic juice. It acts on proteins. See the difference? Pancreatic amylase acts on the carbohydrates. Trypsin acts on the proteins and convert it into peptones. The next one, lipase, it is secreted by pancreas into the duodenum. Here the juice used is pancreatic juice. It acts on fats and convert it into fatty acids and glycerol. Next one is peptidases, which is secreted by small intestine, and sucrose secreted by small intestine. The digestive juice here is intestinal juice. Peptidases act on peptides. Sucrose acts on sucrose, cane sugar, and convert it into glucose. This is the chart showing enzymes and digestive juices, and definitely it is very, very important, which carries few marks. Now let us answer the questions which is given in your textbook based on this chart. Name the enzymes which act on carbohydrates. As we discussed, salivary amylase or ptyalin, which is secreted by salivary glands. Here this is used. And then pancreatic amylase, sucrase. These are the three enzymes which act on carbohydrates. The next question is, which juice doesn't contain enzymes? That is nothing but bile juice. Bile juice doesn't contain enzymes. What are the enzymes that act on proteins? Pepsin, trypsin, peptidases. These three are the enzymes which act on proteins. So students, after learning the process of digestion in human beings, it is very clear there are 5 different steps in the process of nutrition in animals. The first step is ingestion. The process of taking food into the body is called ingestion. The second step is digestion. The process in which food containing large insoluble molecules is broken down to small water soluble molecules is called digestion. The third step is absorption. The process in which the digested food passes through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream. That is called absorption. Next step is assimilation. The process in which the absorbed food is taken into the body for energy, growth and repair is called assimilation. And the final step is digestion. The process in which undigested food is removed from the body is called digestion, which is very important. Let us now study the flowchart of digestive system. Food first enters into the mouth and then into the buccal cavity, the oral cavity. From there into the pharynx, and pharynx is the connecting link between both nutrition and respiration, which we are going to study in the unit 2. After that, it enters into the esophagus, the long extending tube, and then into the stomach. Here from the stomach it enters into the duodenum. Duodenum is the place where it receives both the bile juice and pancreatic juices. And from there into the small intestine. Small intestine is a long tube, extending tube in the alimentary canal. From small intestine into large intestine. From there into the rectum and anus.
The human beings have special organ for the ingestion of food. It is called mouth. It is bounded by upper and lower lip. The food is put into the mouth with the help of hands. Digestion. The digestion of food starts as soon as we put food in our mouth. This happens as follows. The mouth cavity or buccal cavity contains teeth, tongue, and salivary glands. The teeth cut the food into small pieces, chew and grind it, so teeth helps in physical digestion. Salivary glands present in our mouth produces saliva which mixes with the food while it is being chewed. The saliva contains an enzyme, amylase, which digests the starch present in food into sugar called glucose. Tongue helps in mixing the food with saliva and pushes the food during swallowing. The slightly digested food in the mouth is swallowed by the tongue into a common passage for both respiratory and digestive tracts, that is, pharynx. When food enters into pharynx, the muscles of the pharynx contract to push the food into the esophagus or food pipe. At this time, the valve called epiglottis covering the windpipe closes. This prevents the food from entering the respiratory tract. From pharynx, the food is gulped down into the tube-like structure called esophagus. The esophagus is lined with muscles that contract and relax rhythmically. This pushes the food forward. This is called peristalsis. Peristalsis occurs all along the gut. The epithelial cells of esophagus also secrete mucus which lubricates the food. This also helps in moving the food forward. The peristaltic movement of esophagus pushes the food into the stomach. The stomach is a J-shaped organ present on the left side of the abdomen. The food entered is churned in the stomach for about 3 hours. During this time, the food breaks down into still smaller pieces and forms a semi-solid paste. The stomach wall contains tubular glands in its walls. The glands present in the walls of the stomach secrete gastric juice. The gastric juice contains 3 substances: hydrochloric acid, the enzyme pepsin, and mucus. Hydrochloric acid provides an acidic environment for the action of enzyme pepsin. The enzyme pepsin begins the digestion of proteins present in food to form smaller molecules. Thus, the protein digestion begins in the stomach. Mucus provides the protection to inner lining of the stomach from the action of the acid under normal conditions. The partially digested food then goes from the stomach into the small intestine. This is regulated by a sphincter muscle which releases food in small amounts into the small intestine. Small intestine is the longest part of the alimentary canal and is about 6.5 meters long in adult man. It is arranged in the form of a coil in our belly. Small intestine helps in the digestion and absorption of nutrients. The small intestine receives the secretions of 2 glands, liver and pancreas. Pancreas secrete pancreatic juice into the small intestine. Pancreatic juice contains enzymes such as trypsin and lipase. Trypsin breaks down proteins and lipase breaks down fat. Liver secretes bile, which is a greenish yellow liquid. It is stored in gallbladder. Bile helps in breaking fats present in food. The walls of the small intestine contain glands which secrete intestinal juice. The intestinal juice contains a number of enzymes which helps in further digestion of food. In this way, the food is completely digested in the small intestine. Absorption. Till now we have studied about digestion in the small intestine. Next, we will understand how absorption takes place in the small intestine. The small intestine is the main region for the absorption of digested food. After digestion, the molecules of food become very small and it is pushed ahead in the small intestine by contraction and relaxation of the muscles. The inner surface of the small intestine has millions of tiny finger-like projections called villi. The digested food is absorbed by the villi. Now let us take a closer view of one villus. The villi are in close contact with the blood vessels. The food present in the villi is absorbed by the blood. Assimilation. From the blood, digested food is carried to all parts of the body. The digested food is used by the cells for obtaining energy and for the growth and repair of the body. The digested food which is not used by our body immediately is stored in the liver in the form of a carbohydrate called glycogen. This stored glycogen can be used as a source of energy by the body as and when required. Ingestion. A part of food which we eat cannot be digested by our body. The undigested food cannot be absorbed in the small intestine. So, undigested food passes from the small intestine into a wider tube called the large intestine. As it moves along the large intestine, the villi within it absorb the water, so the undigested food becomes almost solid. The last part of the large intestine is called the rectum. It stores this undigested food for some time. Then it is thrown out through the anus. The act of expelling.
Friends, we have studied the process of digestion, the parts involved in the digestion, and we have studied about the flow chart in the human digestive system. Let us now discuss about health aspects of alimentary canal. Here, generally, because of the peristaltic movements, wavy-like movements in the esophagus and in the stomach, the food gets digested. But there are certain harmful materials and unwanted materials which will be get rid of the body through vomiting. The peristaltic movements of the stomach and esophagus reverse their normal conditions and the food is expelled out. There are many causes of vomiting, but one of the most common is overeating, especially when the food contains high proportion of fat. Vomiting also occurs when we eat something very indigestible or poisonous. Indigestion is a general term used when there is difficulty in digesting food. There are certain healthy aspects. Healthy people can usually avoid problems related to digestion by following methods. Having simple, well-balanced meals. Please note down, students, there are 5 steps here. Having simple, well-balanced meals. Eating them in a leisurely manner. You should not overeat the food. We have to take some leisure and then eat. Thoroughly masticating the food. What is meant by mastication? As we studied earlier, thoroughly we have to chew the food with the help of the teeth. You have to masticate the food and eat. Then avoid taking violent exercises soon after eating the food, as you people will be doing exercises. So it should not be done immediately after taking the food. Drink plenty of water and have regular bowel movements. These are the 5 healthy aspects to be followed in order to have a proper digestion. The more serious problem of indigestion is duodenal ulcers or peptic ulcers. As you know very well that the people who are in rush, especially the busy people, they will be rushing over the meals and they will be doing more activities at a time. So for the people who are relaxed and who eat and masticate the food thoroughly, who eat at a slower rate, there is a less chances of getting ulcers, and we have to give a break between the meals and it should be taken at the proper time. We should not skip our breakfast, we should not skip our dinner, we have to take at the proper time. And proper functioning of all life processes require adequate amount of food in all living organisms. It is not just the intake of food but also the assimilation and expulsion of waste is also most important. It plays an important role. Intake of fiber rich food avoids constipation. It is very important to note down. Intake of fiber rich food avoids constipation. Now let us discuss about the diseases caused due to malnutrition. So coming to the diseases due to malnutrition, we know that food is the main source to maintain biological processes in a perfect manner. Our diet should be a balanced one which contains proper amount of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, mineral salts, everything. 2/3 of the world population is affected by food related to diseases. So it is very important to discuss about the food diseases. Some people are having high calorific value of food and some people are suffering with some diseases due to the lack of balanced diet. So now we will discuss about the diseases due to malnutrition. What is meant by malnutrition? Malnutrition means eating of food that doesn't contain one or more than one nutrients in required amount. I am repeating, children, eating of food that doesn't contain one or more than one nutrient in the required amount. there are so many reasons that causes malnutrition. For example, socioeconomic factors, starvation, poverty, poor health. Like this, there are so many reasons which causes malnutrition. Malnutrition is of 3 types. Note down children, 3 types. Protein malnutrition, calorie malnutrition, protein calorie malnutrition. How many types? 3 types. Protein malnutrition, calorie malnutrition, protein calorie malnutrition. Let us observe the effects of malnutrition in children.
Let us now discuss about malnutrition. So eating of food that doesn't contain one or more than one nutrient in required amount is called malnutrition. It is based on 2 things, undernutrition and overnutrition. Undernutrition leads to Marasmus and Kwashiorkor diseases. Overnutrition, high calorie intake of food leads to obesity. Let us now discuss about Kwashiorkor. Kwashiorkor is the most common and widespread nutritional disorder in developing countries. It is caused especially because of the less intake of protein. So protein malnutrition leads to a disease known as Kwashiorkor. Let us see the symptoms of Kwashiorkor. This is because of the protein deficiency in the diet. Body parts become swollen due to the accumulation of water in the intercellular spaces. Very poor muscle development can be seen. Swollen leg, fluffy face can be seen here. In the Kwashiorkor disease, the symptoms. There will be diarrhea and dry skin. These are the symptoms of this disease. Now coming to the marasmus. Marasmus is caused by the lack of protein and energy, both. It is due to the protein and energy. Both protein calorie malnutrition leads to a disease known as marasmus. The major symptoms here are retarded growth, loss of weight, lean body, projected ribs, sunken eyes, dry skin. Generally, this marasmus is caused because of immediate childbirth or second pregnancy. And there is a disease known as obesity. Here obesity is because of the high calorie intake of food. Generally more eating of junk food. Every time high calorie food and fats leads to a over nutritious disease known as obesity. And there will be swelling of body completely. There will be a rise in weight, and it also leads to certain disorders like diabetes or cardiovascular diseases, gallbladder diseases, some liver problems also. So overnutrition, that is overeating of food, junk food, leads to obesity.
Diseases that are caused due to the lack of carbohydrates, protein, vitamins, or minerals in the diet are called deficiency diseases. Deficiency diseases cannot be transmitted from one person to another. Deficiency of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the body's main energy sources. Lack of carbohydrates in the diet results in lack of energy and stamina. A laborer who does hard physical work needs more carbohydrates in his diet than a person who does his work sitting in his office. Deficiency of proteins. Deficiency of proteins leads to a disease called Kwashiorkor. Deficiency of proteins along with carbohydrate deficiency is called protein energy malnutrition. It leads to marasmus. These diseases are more common in the children of rural areas. Symptoms of Kwashiorkor. Number 1. Large pot-like belly. Number 2. Stunted growth. Number 3. Swelling of face and limbs. Number 4. Skin diseases. Number 5. Mental retardation. Number 6. Diarrhea. If the treatment is started in time, improving protein intake may correct this disease. Symptoms of marasmus. Number 1. A child suffering from marasmus become very thin. Number 2. Shows slow body growth. Number 3. Lack of energy. Number 4. Loss of appetite. Number 5. Weak legs. Number 6. Mental retardation. Number 7. Poor muscle development. Government of India has started programs such as the Integrated Child Development Scheme and the Midday Meal Scheme in school.
So students, the last topic of this unit is vitamin deficiency diseases. So actually vitamins are the organic substances, micronutrients which are required in small quantities. These vitamins are not synthesized in our body. The only source of the vitamin is through diet or the bacteria which is present in the intestine. So there are two different types of vitamins, water soluble and fat soluble. Water soluble vitamins are vitamin B and C, B complex vitamins and C. Fat soluble vitamins are A, D, E, K. Let us study the chart which tells us about the symptoms, resources, deficiency diseases of these vitamins.
Let us now discuss about the vitamins, deficiency diseases and symptoms. The first one, thiamine, vitamin B1. The resources are given here. The deficiency disease caused because of the thiamine deficiency is vomiting, fits, loss of appetite, difficulty in breathing, paralysis. Vitamin B2, riboflavin. The deficiency disease here, glossitis, mouth cracks at corners, red and sore tongue, photophobia. Photophobia means scary to the light, scaly skin. Next, vitamin B3, niacin. The deficiency disease here is pellagra, dermatitis, diarrhea, loss of memory, scaly skin, or the symptoms of pellagra deficiency disease. Now, vitamin B6, pyridoxine. The deficiency disease here is anemia, hyperirritability, nausea, vomiting, fits. Next deficiency disease is pernicious anemia caused by the deficiency of vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin. This is vitamin B12 is synthesized by bacteria present in the intestine. Next vitamin is folic acid. It is also known as B9 vitamin. Here the deficiency disease is anemia. Next, pantothenic acid, B5. Note down children, folic acid, pantothenic acid, biotin. Numbers I have given. Pantothenic acid, B5. Deficiency disease is burning feet. Next, biotin, B7. Nerve disorders, fatigue, mental depression, muscle pains are the symptoms. Next, these are thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, pyridoxine, cyanocobalamin, folic acid, pantothenic acid, biotin. Till here, vitamin B. Next one is ascorbic acid. Vitamin C. The deficiency disease here is scurvy, delay in healing of wounds, fracture of bones. So it is very clear that vitamin B and C are the water soluble vitamins. Now coming to the retinol, calciferol, tocopherol, phylloquinone. Retinol, vitamin A. The deficiency disease here is eye skin diseases, night blindness. So the dim vision will be there in the night blindness, xerophthalmia, cornea failure, scaly skin. These are the symptoms of deficiency diseases for retinol. Calciferol, rickets is the deficiency disease for the calciferol. Tocopherol, fertility disorders. Phylloquinone, blood clotting, delay in blood clotting. So you have to just learn the vitamin name, the number, deficiency disease, symptoms, the resources also.
Deficiency diseases. Due to lack of vitamins in our diet, the following diseases are caused. Deficiency diseases as night blindness is caused by the deficiency of vitamin A, and the symptoms are that the person cannot see in dim light or at night and can be cured by having milk, carrot, butter, curd, green leafy vegetables. Deficiency diseases as beriberi is caused by the deficiency of vitamin B, and the symptoms are that the person have loss of appetite, nervous disorder and weight loss, and can be cured by having cereals, pulses, nuts, milk, egg yolk and porridge. Deficiency diseases as rickets is caused by the deficiency of vitamin D, and the symptoms are that the person have bow-shaped legs and can be cured by having milk, egg yolk and cod liver oil. Mineral deficiency diseases. Our body needs minerals in very small quantities. Their deficiency lead to many diseases as anemia and goiter. Anemia. It is caused due to the deficiency of iron in our body. Iron deficiency results in reduction of hemoglobin As there is less hemoglobin, blood cannot carry enough oxygen. Anemic people become pale, lose appetite, and get tired very easily. Anemic person should take spinach, apple, guava, and banana. Goiter. It is caused due to deficiency of iodine in our diet. As a result, the thyroid gland, located in our throat, enlarges. Fish, seafood, and iodized salt should be consumed to prevent goiter.
Children, let us recall the things what we have learnt today. Today we have discussed about the nutrition in human beings, the way in which the food is taken in and the process of digestion inside the alimentary canal from mouth to anus. Later we have discussed about the healthy aspects of the alimentary canal. What are the healthy things we have to follow for proper digestion. After that we have discussed about the malnutrition, types of malnutrition, and finally the vitamin deficiency diseases. We have completed Unit 1 Nutrition. For better understanding, go through your textbook and make it as a habit to read the textbook. All the best.